Effective communication skills are fundamental to success in many aspects of life. Many jobs require strong communication skills, and people with good communication skills usually enjoy better interpersonal relationships, especially with their friends and their family. Effective communication is a key to interpersonal skills, and learning how we can improve our communication has many benefits. But how can you really develop these skills? First, become an engaged listener. People often focus on what they should say, but effective communication is less about talking and more about listening. Listening well means just understanding the words, not so much, but not also about the information being communicated. It's really about understanding the emotions the speaker is trying to communicate. There is a big difference between an engaged listening and simply hearing. When you really listen, you're engaged with what's being said. You'll hear the subtle intonations in someone's voice, and that'll tell you how the person is feeling and the emotions they're communicating. When you're an engaged learner, not only will you better understand the other person, you'll also make that person feel heard and understood. It develops stronger, deeper connections between you. By communicating in this way, you will also experience a process that's going to lower your stress, support your physical and emotional well-being, and if the person you're talking to is calm, for example, listening in an engaged way will really help to calm you too. Similarly, if a person is very agitated, and you can help them to calm by listening to them in an attentive way and making them feel understood. So within being an engaged listener, there are ways that you can do this. First, focus on the speaker. Focus on their body language. What is their tone of voice? What other nonverbal cues do you see? The tone of voice conveys emotion. So if you're thinking about other things, checking your text messages or doodling, you're going to miss those nonverbal cues and the emotional content behind the words that are being spoken. And if the person talking is similarly distracted, you'll be able to quickly pick up on it. If you find it hard to concentrate on speakers, try repeating their words in your head. It's going to reinforce their message and help you to stay focused. Also, favor your right ear. Did you know that the left side of your brain contains the primary processing center for your speech comprehension and your motion? The left side of the brain is connected to the right side of the body. So if you favor your right ear, it's going to help you to better detect those emotional nuances of what someone is saying. Try keeping your posture straight, your chin down. Tilt your right ear toward the speaker, and this is going to make it easier to pick up on those frequencies of human speech that contain that really high emotional content of what is being said. Next, avoid interrupting or trying to redirect the conversation to what you want to talk to by something like, well, if you think that's bad, let me tell you. Listening is not the same thing as waiting for your turn to talk. You can concentrate on what someone is saying if you're forming what you're going to say next. It doesn't work. Often, a speaker can read your facial expressions and they are immediately going to know that your mind is somewhere else. Show interest in what they're saying. Nod. Smile. Make sure that your posture is open and inviting, and encourage the speaker to continue as you add small verbal comments like, really, huh, yeah, yes, uh-huh. Set aside any judgment. Really, in order to communicate effectively with someone, you really don't have to like them. You don't have to agree with them. You don't have to agree with their ideas, their values, or even their opinions. But you do need to set aside your judgment and withhold blame and criticism in order to understand them. And this can be very difficult during communication, especially when communication is successfully executed. It leads to the most unlikely and profound connections, though. Provide some feedback. If there seems to be a little bit of disconnect between you and the speaker, reflect on what's being said by paraphrasing. What I'm hearing is, sounds like you're saying. Those are great ways to really reflect back. Don't simply repeat what they said verbatim, though. Then you sound insincere or even unintelligent. Instead, express what the speaker's words mean to you. Ask questions to clarify points. Do you mean that? Really? Did this really occur? Is that what you mean? Also, look and find other engaged listeners and just pay attention to them. What do they do? How do they really focus? And what makes them so engaged? Another skill is to pay attention to those nonverbal signals. When we talk things out or when we communicate things that we really care about, we do so by using nonverbal signatures or signals. This is a communication. It's body language. It has facial expressions, body movement, gestures, eye contact, posture, the tone of our voice, and even muscle tension and breathing. The way you look, listen, move, and react. It tells other people more about how you're feeling than those words alone ever can. Developing the ability to understand and use nonverbal communication can help you connect with others, express what you really mean, navigate challenging situations, and build better relationships, both at home and at work. Next, make sure that you keep your stress in check, because to communicate effectively, you need to be aware of and in control of your emotions, and that means you really need to learn how to manage that stress. When you're stressed, you're more likely to misread, you're going to send some confusing signs, or you may even do some nonverbal signals that are really putting off other people. Maybe you lapse into really strange patterns of behavior. How many times have you felt stressed out when you were disagreeing with someone and then you regret something that you said or you did? If you can quickly relieve stress and return to that calm state, you'll not only avoid these regrets, but in many cases, you will also calm the other person as well. It's only when you are in a calm, relaxed state that you'll be able to know whether the situation requires a response or whether the other person's signal really indicates that you should just be quiet. Skill 4 is to assert yourself. So being direct and assertive, this really is going to make for clear communication, and it's going to help you also by boosting your own self-esteem and your own decision-making abilities. Being assertive means expressing your thoughts, your feelings, your needs in a very open and honest way, while standing up for yourself and respecting others. Assertive does not mean that you're hostile, that you're aggressive, or that you are demanding. Effective communication is about understanding the other person and not about winning an argument or forcing your opinions on others. So exactly what is assertiveness? There are several different types. There are 3. Empathetic assertion means that you're really showing sensitivity to the other person. First, you've recognized their situation or your feelings, and then you state your needs and your opinions. I know you've been really busy at work, but I want you to take time for us as well. That might be one example. Escalating assertion is when your first attempts may not be very successful. Then you want to become a little more firm, especially as time passes and your information's not getting out. And you may want to really outline some consequences or really impact what happens when you are not being listened to. If you don't abide by the contract, I'll be forced to pursue legal action. Or maybe you need to show people what the consequence is. You know, when you didn't do what I asked, it made me feel like you didn't really care. Lastly, practical assertiveness. Practice it. Practice it in some lower risk situations to start with or to help you build up your confidence. You may want to ask people, can I practice some assertive techniques with you so I don't feel like such a doormat in my life? So how can you really improve your assertiveness? First, value yourself. Value your options. Think about it. You're as important as everybody else, and maybe you don't know yourself and you don't know what your options are. Then you need to really learn, which means that you need to know what your needs and your wants are and learn to express them without really infringing on the rights of others. There are ways that you can be assertive and say what you need without really risking relationships or by really harming other people. Express your negative thoughts in a very positive way, because it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be depressed. It's okay to be all those things, but you need to be respectful as well. Receive your feedback in a positive way. So it's really easy sometimes for us to accept compliments, or maybe not so much. But remember to accept them graciously. Also, though, learn from your mistakes and ask for help when needed. When someone says, that really bothered me that you did whatever, apologize. Don't focus on it. Don't obsess over it. Just apologize and move on. Learn to say no. When you can't say no, I call that lackanoitis, the inability to say no to anything. And you need to know your limits, and you need to make it aware that you are not going to let other people take advantage of you. Look for alternatives so that everyone will feel good over the outcomes. Remember, the skills for effective communication is to be engaged. Be an engaged listener. Pay attention to those nonverbal signals, and remember and look for those first indicators of stress. What are they? And keep them in check. And lastly, be sure to assert yourself.